Hi, Alice and Betty, and Alice and Betty. Hi, guys. We have kind of a short little group right now. So let's see. What can we talk about? It's nice and sunny here, which probably isn't fair to those that are in rainy or in stormy areas. So I'm sorry if I rub it in, but the bees are out. The bees are out and they tried coming into the workshop. So that was not a good idea. Anyways, so hi, Brenda. How are you? I think just because I work slowly that I'm going to go ahead and go through the pack and we'll just go ahead and dig on in and get started. Okay. All right. So this one is called Feeding Time. It's all based on homes though. So like the saying that's on the little deco sheet that you get for the base picture, it says enjoy your new home on it. So the other one says in a banner, you're so tweet. So feeding time seems appropriate for what's happening in the picture, but I think we can pass along something a little different in our notes. Hi, Martha. Did I get every? Yes. Hi, Diane, Mary, G, Laura. Wow, everybody just all at once. Hello, hello. Okie dokie. So I'm just going to go through here really quick and show you what we're making today in case you didn't have a chance to see. We're doing this one that nope, this way. There we go. We're doing this one that is little birds and they're all eating, and that's the main theme of all of them is these cute little houses. And so we'll be doing this card. I didn't have any of the sayings at home that the store has in stock. Somehow or another, I didn't have a thank you in my note, in my stickers at home, and I don't know how that happened. So I ran downstairs and I bought some last week, but didn't have a chance to put them on my cards. So here, this one will actually say thank you on either side, with the little border that says you're so tweet. Then we have our DL. Whoop. I can back it up a little bit. There we go. This is our DL card. We've got some framing that I used around in different areas, and it just says thank you at the top. I figured I tend to go for thank you because that seems to be something that you can use for any day, all day, and happy birthdays. But this would make a great Mother's Day card too, I think, personally. And in reality, I think this one would probably make the best Mother's Day card. So if you're wanting to have a Mother's Day card a little early this year, this is the one. Okay. So it is our shaker. It fills up the entire card, and there is a trick to it. It doesn't just come naturally. We have to make it. So we're going to have a little bit of fun doing that today. And I'm going to save this one for last. And the reason why is just it's a little bit harder to do. So I figure we start with the easy ones and get through it. And hopefully we'll be able to move right into the next section. So in your kit, you have your first piece, borders, and frames. And keep in mind as we do this, I will try and make sure that I break out each thing and let you know where and when we're using it. So here's the first section. We have our thank you stickers, a sheet of acetate. We've got some lilac linen card. We have our card cards, which are DL and I think 2 5x7s. I think that's right. Yep, 2 5x7s and our DL card. And then we have envelopes. And I actually had taken all the envelopes and pulled them out earlier. You should have a little thing of stickers because you need them for this. We have our card stock. This is, I love this one. It's just got a pretty little edging on the side and it just makes it so pretty. And then we have all of our deco pieces. So this is our decoupage sheet. So we're going to build these up in different places. So I will go through and I will try and do my best to pick them out for each card as we go along so that we can talk about where I'm getting it from off of this sheet. So bear with me because it'll come back and forth. Hi, Roberta. How are you? Marielle? Mary Lynn? Okay. And did I miss somebody else, perchance? Okay. Then we have 2 pieces of ribbon. One is our lilac crochet ribbon. It's really pretty with this card. And then we've got a little bit of the kiwi offray satin ribbon. And then we've got, these are called, they're Nouveaux. And it is called, what color? I want to say that they're called Pink Blossom, but that might be the wrong word for it. And then it's got some little gold hexagons from Nouveau in it as well. And then we should have our foam. And then you should have with you your embossing powder, your glue, and your tape, and a pair of scissors. And if you like, your handy dandy cutter for cutting out any sizes that we might need. So I think that that is it. And let's go ahead and start digging on in. Okay. So first card that we're going to work on is this one. And I'm going to have to turn it around so that I can see what I did with what on here. So off of this one, I took this piece out. And be really careful because sometimes they'll catch in spots, especially with all these little birds and twists and turns. So when you are punching out, do it gingerly. Okay, and then I have this little guy with his 3 birdies sitting on him for the top. See what I mean? They can get really stuck. At home, I wasn't going so slowly when I was building this, and so I didn't, one of my birds got ripped off of the top, so I had to glue them back on. Okay, so then we have this piece. This piece.
Just lost the camera.
Well, that's fine. I don't mind. In fact, I like it better this way.
I can see 2 of you now. Oops, there it went away. Now it corrected itself.
I love that refresh button on this program. It sure makes it easy. Okay, that one. Okay, here's my next one. Here he is. That one. little robin. And I'm going to re-go through these here really quick. Just give me just a second while I make sure that I get what I need. These. Okay, I think that that is it. So what I'm going to show you is we are taking the, since these go all different directions here, let me turn it around for you. We're taking the biggest house out of that section, little birdhouse. We've got the frame with the birds up at the top, little frame. Let's see, we have a little coconut, and it's the one with both birds on it. Yes, the one with both birds on it. And it comes from right here. We have our, it looks like maybe foxglove, maybe. It came from down here in the bottom corner. Okay, and we've got this little piece of some violets right down there at the bottom, right here. And yeah, I'm gonna set this guy aside because I took him out too early. So our little one with the really red little head on the very tip top, he's not on this one. And then the last one is one of our little orange. I don't know if they're meant to be a robin. It doesn't look like a robin, but doesn't look like a chickadee either. So, and it came from right down here. Okay, so hopefully that will help you out. I tend to build on my base and then go from there. So I'm going to quickly just go through here and I was hoping I find that I can get the hobby journal ones off a little bit faster and peeling. And since I'm a very happy foamer,
Yes, we've established that before.
okie dokie. We're going to come in here. We're just going to put them down and around. I do when they're kind of funny like this, even if I'm trying to be sparing in the foam, I try and put them on each of the little sections that has the most risk of bending or moving flat onto the card. Whereas when you have your bigger ones, you just need it really for the support of the outlying areas. But when they're little tiny, it takes a little bit. Okay. Another trick that I use is that rather than putting them straight on, I give it just a little bit. The birds have to kind of stay straight on, but I move around anything else so that a little bit of it shows, so that you're getting a little bit of an outline from one to the other. I don't know if you can see that, but I put the birds on straight because they don't do well mirrored. It makes them look like they have two heads. Okay, so they're straight on, but then down here, I've changed it just a little bit so that I've got a little bit of the coconut right down here that shows through, and it makes it actually look a little bit more 3D. So long as it's not something that you're worried about giving it two heads, for example, you will
Say hi to Sue and Glenn.
Hi, Sue. Hi, Glenn. So long as you're not going to give your birds two heads, but your flowers, you can mirror anything that really doesn't have a very specific specific piece is probably not quite. Unless you have one that's minus movement, or you can get their heads, even on this little bird down here, by getting his head on straight and just kind of barely tipping him. It gives it a fuller look, and it actually makes it look like it's popping out more than just the 2D. So that's my coconuts on, my little birdie on. Foxglove is next. I try with these guys to put them on as high as I can up in the area without them hanging over, just because of, again, it needs that support so it doesn't get squished so much in the mail. The other way that you can go at it, and I think I will do for this little tip because it's too far out there, the other trick is put your foamies back onto your sheet. And I do this on a regular basis, so it's nothing new for me. But you just cut your two pieces in half. And the reason why you do it here is you won't get your scissors sticky. If you have one side that's off like this, if I just took a foamy and wanted to cut it, it will make your little adhesive stick to your scissors. So if you didn't know that trick before, that's the trick.
That's the trick.
Oh, trying to put it on upside down. Imagine that. Okay. So this one, just giving it that little bit of a sideline. You can go up and to the right, or you can go down and to the left, but it really does make a difference, especially if you're looking at it close up. We may find that I've missed a couple of little birds along the way, and that is okay, because we'll just come back around and say, oh, hey, we have an extra, and we'll add them on to whichever ones we need to add them to. And because this little guy is so skinny in places, I have absolutely used the half trick a few different times, because there are some really skinny ones to these guys. The other way to do it is grab your really thin foam tape and run it along some of these areas if you don't want to have to deal with cutting the cards or cutting the foamies. Yeah, don't cut the cards. Just where you're supposed to.
Berta says, these cards are amazing, Margie.
Ah, thank you. So Bob and Bryce were enjoying a little bit of the sun outside, and Bob made sure that he stayed nice and warm. He had his hat on that Debbie made him.
Yes. 75 degrees and wearing a hat.
That's okay. It made him feel good. I was glad to see him out in the sun.
So that the cat had shade.
That's great. Okie dokie. All right, and then our last little one of the violets that go down below in here, and these actually go somewhere else, and I moved them. So technically they go right down here in the corner with the violets, but I decided, nope, I want it to be really have that 3D effect across the bottom just as much as I was putting towards the top. So sometimes giving it that filler to where we can stretch it out is putting in a surprise every once in a while in your card so that you can extend out these pieces as much as possible, because now I've got them all the way across. 1, 2, 3. I've filled it with the coconut. I've got 2 of the birds here, and I've got 2 of the birds here, and this little one is staying where he is at. Okay, so we are done filling out our piece here. Those are all of our pieces. And we're going to take and you're going to chop up this beautiful piece of paper. Okay. So on here, I basically am just cutting right by this DL card. As close as I can keep that little border in, I'm going to keep that border. So when I go to cut this, it's got to be cut right in that area. Okay, so this is what we have left for our DL card, so I'm just going to set that aside for right now. Okay. Move that off to the side so you can see and not have a huge mess.
Share a picture of Dad on the screen. Yeah.
I know, I'm cleaning up, but it makes it easier for me to see everything, especially with all these little pieces. So with this, I need to grab the You're So Tweet border off of this page of Deco.
Dad putting his hat on the kitty for shade.
Was the kitty appreciative? That's what I need to know. Not
well,
minding it?
She didn't move, but I don't think it was quite appreciative.
Okay. It is going to be really important that when we pull off these borders, and so I'm working it on this main sheet that you get that has the main picture, the main frame, everything on it. We need to make sure that we keep some things carefully intact. So you'll want to make sure that you just clip right here and right here at the bottom.
Ruth Kelly says it looks like a great class, Margie.
Thank you.
She's just dropping in.
Hi, Ruth. Hi, Mom.
Oh, there's Glenda.
That head of hair. Yes, I would like to get a haircut. It would be great. I felt confident when we had vaccine and they said that you could start going places and you could start doing things. And then I didn't want to get anybody sick, but I went ahead and I went and got my hair cut. And that was what, September, maybe even August. And I haven't been back since. Okay. I didn't use this border anywhere else in the card kit, but if you want to keep some of the border so that you can use some of your extra pieces, because there won't be any more of the picture parts, but you can absolutely keep a portion of this for like maybe your garden treasures that have the birds in them. So you can use that with this. The bird song, I believe, is also another one that we have.
Mom was talking about Grandpa's hair, not yours. But...
Oh, that's great. I thought my mom was trying to tell me to get a haircut.
Well, she might have, but she's real
Okay, so we're taking the 5x7. Got the border ready to go. And by the way, if you have these extra border pieces, and like I just said, oh, hey, I think I'm going to put that in with my garden treasures, do it. Just drop it in the bag right then and there if you've got your set or your packs handy, if you haven't had a chance to make them yet, like me. And so I've got probably 3 or 4 different bird packs, and so just drop it in the pack while you're thinking about it instead of saving it somewhere else. And then hope that you can remember in your scrap section what you want to use when. Okay, so the border goes on the outer edge, and I am doing this right side up for me just because I want to make sure that I do this correctly. So this is the way that the card is going to open from, and I want the border at the tip top. So I've done my 3 pieces of tape, and I'm just taking this, keeping it as straight as possible because I'm really bad at this. We've already had that part of Debbie does it so quickly. But man, I still get nervous. Cut the card shape. Okay, so this is what you should have left over. And this should be your top. I also took from this, and I took 2 of the corners. And in this particular case, I took the 2 bottom corners. And this is totally up to you. It doesn't matter which way you put these, but because I've got that pretty border at the top, my goal was to try and extend out the card a little bit and make it look like it was framed in around here. So I took the bottom 2 out of here. Again, be really careful taking those out because you'll need that section of your card. So anything on that page, just be extra careful when you pull out the pieces. I put mine like this at the bottom so that it could elongate that section to mimic what's happening on top. But you can totally switch them around, and if you like them lower, that's okay too. So that's how it would look if it was lower. I will have to say I didn't like them down low, and I glued them. I liked them with that little bit of extension. So I'm going to do it again because I didn't like what it looked like when I tested it the first time. So with these, I don't want to put this up on a pop-up because I'm trying on a foam square because I'm trying to make it look like it's part of the actual card already, intentionally made this way. What are you playing with over there, Bryce?
Your friend has decided that she needs her own blanket. So guess what?
Oh, Bryce is making blankets. And notice how it became my friend and not his wife.
Pretty much.
Too funny.
Okay.
Okay.
And then she decided she didn't like my size of hook, although
She wanted a bigger size in order to get the bigger weave. Probably by the time that I'm doing 3 cards, Bryce will have his blanket half done.
no. Because she also changed the yarn.
Oh, that's right.
Now more difficult.
Okay, let's see. All right, so here are my 2 pieces here, and all that I need to do is take and put this little guy right smack in the middle. And it does stick over if you're not careful, um, but I tried to make sure that everything fit. I did cut this little tip off of the, whoop, whoop, let me tip it up for you. I cut this little tiny tip off of the top of the roof in order to make sure that it fit better. And you don't notice that it's gone. It really works just fine, just like that. So that's what I have. And then I've got my border piece. So if you want to just keep the whole thing, make it easier, you can just drop it right across there. I didn't put it up on foam squares because I've got this already on a couple foam squares. And so I don't want to extend it out too much more, or else it's going to raise that whole thing up even higher, because then you'll have to do 2 double squares if you put a foamy on this. Then you're going to have to use double foamies on the back of this. So, oh, and I want to say, I'm glad that I checked this. On this piece, do not push out those little holes. If you've already pushed those out, put them back in. In fact, when I did mine, because I wanted to keep that filler, because if I take this piece away, then the greenery in the yard goes away. So I went through and I took my foamies and I just put my foamies down kind of halfway like this on the piece. So in that way it glued it in so it wouldn't accidentally fall out by the time that I was done, because that has happened before to me. In my case, I want to save some of this, so I'm just going to be cutting it a little bit longer than this edge. And a little bit longer than this edge. It also gives you the ability, when you clip them like this instead of using the entire border, is making sure that you have your words where you want them. So in particular here, I've got the "You're So Tweet" right at the edge like that. So I know that that's where I'm going to want to glue this one. And the same thing on the other side. You're going to try and make sure that you blend that in where they can read it the best. However, before I do that, I'm going to put on my little house. Then you can just slide it with a little bit of glue right on there, and it makes it quick and easy. Okay, so I'm going to be doing class next Thursday as well. We're going to just keep going until tax time. So then that way Debbie has the opportunity to work on your weekend class as well as her taxes, because that is very, very important around here. Keep in mind, if you want to keep the support for those birds, cut the little piece in half and you'll be good to go. Now for time saving, I would so cut those little foamies in half and put them on each of these little tails, because I know that those are the things that are going to bend and mark your card. So I encourage you, if you have the chance, to go ahead and put those on. You can always put them on later too. So if you're making the cards with me, after we're done, just cut a few little extras and tuck them in underneath those tails. Hi, Thelma. I always like that other people say hi, because in that way, when I actually look up from what I'm doing, I can make sure that I am saying hello and I catch up. So good to see you guys. So I'm going to take, and it barely sticks up over the top and barely is down at the bottom, just a little tiny bit, and that is quite all right. I want to make sure that I get it centered as best as I can. Because this is a different shape, I'm really looking for, when I'm looking for center, I'm really just looking for these two sides to be pretty equal, because those are where it's grounded, so to speak. So I want to give it fair space on each side. And I think I did. Okay, so now I'm just going to glue on my little guys right here. And of course I have a filmy where I wanted to put it. That's okay, it'll hold it down better. Okay, that's one side. Well, it's better so long as the foamy doesn't try and steal it back from you. And then on the other side, we're just going to glue it right here. We should have more of this kit. Yes. I believe so. Can I interrupt your blanket piece for the moment? Sorry. Okay, and I just kind of used both sides as my...
You currently have 8 in stock.
Okay, so we have 8 left in stock. We just got the kits made last Friday, so hopefully that means that we have already sold about half. So we still have half of our pack left. All right, Bryce, can you pull the camera back a little bit, please? There we go. Perfect. Okay. So this is the card. And like I said, I didn't have the thank yous, but I felt like your so tweet would work well with having a thank you on it. And I also felt like it could use it either here on as a thank and then a U over here, or you can put it on the inside of your card. So it really is totally up to you. You could even put it on just one side of the card as well. Well, this one just wants to stay inside the card and inside the sticker. Oh, I'm going to have to get some tweezers after that part. So I'm going to come here. And I have thank you. And there's our first card. Woohoo! Okay. Really quick though, so that I don't forget, I'm going to take that little piece out. I need new glasses. My mom has asked if I have gone in to get new glasses every time she sees me, because I'm having to take them off to see these, which tells me that I definitely need a change in my prescription because I already have bifocals. Okay, there we go. One down, two more to go. All right, so this is the next one that we have. For this one, we use the other two pieces of this frame up at the top. Isn't it fun how it tricks the eye into thinking that that's where it was already printed and where it's supposed to be? I really like that. Okay, so you have Enjoy Your New Home, which would be absolutely terrific on either this card or the next. I chose to do a thank you on this one. You can always put this on the inside of one of your cards if you wanted to do that instead of having a thank you. But this gives you the opportunity to, I wanted to make sure that it was kind of something that you could use for anything. I know for me personally, I always just tuck the words aside if it's not the right one for the moment when I'm doing these cards, and then I'll pull it out and use it later. So like maybe I'm making cards for happy birthday and not, sorry, my phone. It'll just sing to us as we go along. So anyways, what we also have is here and here. So those are the extra pieces that we're using, and let's go through. Oh, and we'll be using our border piece with all the purple right there at the base. So I made basically a little frame for it up at the top, and that helped fill in this space. But I really felt like to cut this shorter and make this a 6 card, it was going to really take away from the beautiful sky and all the work that they had done with this. I also, it kind of became a piece of necessity. You can see it right there. It got smushed a little bit. And so this is not so bad in comparison to what I ended up with, something in my bag shifting on the way home, and it totally bent up a section of my card. So I worked really hard at trying to figure out how I could get it so that it wasn't so clear to be able to see it all the way through. Okay, so on this one, we'll go back to our deco page, and let me find something so that you can see behind it where I take these from. Okay. So on this little guy, I am building up the roof section. So I've got so let's see, here we have our base with this one. This one is the one that I used for this piece. So it's our next biggest section of the house. Okay, so I took him from right here. This is our other one that we used. I took the little red and red-breasted black winged chickadee that matches him right here with his stick. So that goes in there. And I got him from right up here. Then I have some extra flowers. And the pump. The flowers are coming from right here, and I'm using a portion of the flowers right through here. So, nope, I take that back. I'm not using that one yet. So, set this one to the side. Sorry about that, guys. So I used the violets from up here and the little bird sitting on the spigot to the hose. And I got him from, it's almost like doing a puzzle backwards. I got him from right here. Okay. I hope that this is helping because they all look very similar. So you have to kind of play around with them a little bit. Okay, I just did the singular coconut down here at the base. Got it from right here. I'm having to touch everything. Okay, and I have this little guy right here. I have him right over here on the page. So he gives us a third layer to the page. Okay, so those are our pieces that we're going to build up with, and then we'll cut the DL piece of the card. Not this one. Envelopes. How, when you put them in a pile, can you lose them? That's what I want to know. How's that possible?
It's just talent.
Goes with that card.
Your DL card in front of you?
That is my DL card right here in my hand, but I was more concerned about where this went at the time.
Okay.
It was upside down. I thought, oh no, I've done it wrong. Okay. So I have those pieces ready to go. I'm going to put together all of my other pieces that go with it first, just so that I don't lose things as I go along, because that is easy to do, as you just saw. It sounded like last Thursday that there were different things that were happening for different people. Some was sickness, some was a lot of other things. Bad brain cramps. I like that, Roberta. I totally agree. I'm having one of those days myself. Little half for his tail. I put a little half on the little bird with the hoses. I put not only a half on the tail, but a half on the head, because it's kind of a small little piece, but I want to make sure that that pops out on the page because otherwise he'll just get lost down there. The nice thing too is that if you don't want to have to take, you want to be able to do this a little bit quicker, I should say, not take the time, because we're all taking the time, right? So to do it a little bit quicker, once you have these pieces and you give it and you're going to be at the bigger section of this backing piece, I recommend that you use some of those nice thicker pieces that we have in the store of the widths and lengths of the different foam squares, because it will make it go so much quicker for you. It really will. And that is nice too. Okay, make sure that I do a little bit of mirroring here and there. And I need one more of my half pieces for this little bird stick. It's amazing how it doesn't take very much of this foam to make it stand upright, but it does. So has it on his stick, has a bigger piece on his head, and a little piece on his tail. So now we're done with the big piece. There was nothing that you had to save from this piece. And in fact, there's a little piece right down here that you want to take the time to punch out because they filled it up with white in the middle, and you don't want that on your piece here. Okay. Betty went to work on Friday thinking that it was Friday, and she went to work, and that's hilarious.
I hate when that happens.
You know what I do? I just go, what day is it? What am I supposed to be doing today? My life is based around sometimes what I'm supposed to be doing, not necessarily what day it is. Okay, I want to make sure that I am doing this correctly, so I'm putting it my direction first. Then I'll flip it back around. So there's my front. And fortunately, I have craft style tape that lets me release a little bit of it without damaging, because I forgot the lace. Okay, so keep that up for a little bit, guys. If you have already placed it, I'm so very sorry. I'm going to tuck that on in so that it doesn't stick, and I'm going to set that aside and do my ribbons. Sorry, guys. Bear with me. I see the big red one. That's okay. We'll just do it with the big one. Yeah, the littler one will make it fit just a tiny bit better, but this should work, Bryce. It really, really should. Oh, perfect.
Susan's bucket.
Thank you. I just set the big one aside for this. It's just a truly a simple, I can never see the numbers on these things either. It's a 3, so in 2 prongs, out to a 4, and back into a 3. So we're back at those 2 prongs again. So if I did that too quickly for anybody, everybody's been doing these that I see talking and chatting, which I think is great that we have that chat space. I just want to make sure that that I do it one more time for you, because I know that I blocked my hand a lot on this. So I will do it one more time for those of you that are joining us and seeing this for the first time, because there's those people as well. So I'm going to latch it right down here. In fact, we love to have new people come and join us. All right, so I latch it in down here at the bottom with it on the back end, and I take it and I put it down through. I have 2 on the outer section, again 2 on the outer section. I'm going to now put it to the 1 and do the same thing on the opposite side. So you go to a 1, and then I go back into the 2 bar. Okay, with that, go down through the hole, take it and put it through the middle, and because this is satin, you know what I'm going to say. Because this is satin, I'm taking some finger lift tape and I'm putting it right there in the middle. Because for me, satin tends to pull out. Not everybody has that experience, but I do. So take off a little bit of that finger lift tape. Make sure that everything is nice and taut. And then tie it on. And I always tie it and do it right here on the comb. If I do it down further, then I'm fighting with it a lot more, and then I'm having more problems. And now when I pull it this way so that it will lay flat on your piece this way. If you pull from up and down, which is natural, and so that's where I move to first, but then I pull it off and snug it down the rest of the way on the sides. And that's so that it's going to lay nice and flat when I get ready to lay it on top of that crochet. Tightening it up just a little bit more. Okay, and on this, we don't need to use our best glue ever because we're going to tuck it in back behind the card, so we don't have to worry about that. Flat your little pieces so they all pop out. Okay, so see, I'm going to just put it in right like that. And I put the crochet part down. And because the crochet is a little thick, I wanted to make sure that everybody had enough to fold up and around the outside. So I asked Brittany to put in enough, but I just want to make sure that we don't fill up that back section too much with extra, because then that's a good way to bend your card with time. So we just put back what we need to. Oh, I can see. I just have to take my glasses off when it's time to get close. And it's not a fun thing. I don't want to go and hang out where the doctor's office is. The optometrist's office is. My husband swears they do a really great job, and he just got his glasses redone. I'm tempting going back to contacts so that I just put my bifocals on when I need them, but I'm not sure that I'll like that either.
I liked contacts, but my eyes always got styes on the inside of them after a couple years. And that was very painful. Only one time having to have that surgically removed was enough to say,
oh,
I'll do it
wow.
again.
Wow. I used to always wear contacts, always.
Yep. I did for 15 years at least.
So most of you will hopefully have remembered to take this, which I didn't, take and put this on while you have the opportunity to before you put it on your card, and that will make this process a little bit easier. Okay, there we go. Okay, again, rather than now that everything is down, now we're just going to place our pieces on the top of this one. When you go through, you can decide, do I want these this way? Because these are the other two pieces of that frame. So do I want it to go this way, or do I want it to go this way? It completely depends on you. I actually think that I'm going to do it this way this time and see if that kind of makes it to where it looks like I've made a frame intentionally all the way through. See, like that. So I'm going to try that this way this time, and glue instead of foam squares because we want to keep it flat to the base. And I really didn't want them to accidentally catch, because you're already talking about having those places catch already with the bottom section. So I didn't want somebody trying to pull their card out and have to worry about it not coming out on the top or catching before they can get it open. Okay, for those of you that are on the card list for mailings back and forth with everyone, I'm going to give you guys a heads up. Nothing scary, but when I send out your cards, which will probably be in the next couple of weeks, when I send out your cards, just be aware that when you open it, don't be surprised if something moves and says hello. That's all I'm going to say.
Well, that's not ominous, is it?
Got your curiosity up? I promise it's nothing scary. Okay. So not quite enough. Okay, so I'm just sliding this just barely underneath the crochet so that it's just peeking out, but it makes it look like I've made a frame out of this section. My hand is trying to fall off the side of the card. My scissors, I should say. That goes on in. You could even, because you've got enough, you can even close it off here if you wanted to as well. In fact, I kind of like that idea if I can get it to lift up just a tiny bit to hide underneath. Haha. See, you see something, you adapt. It's important. Yeah, I like that a lot. Since I already glued those last pieces down, it's going to be a little tricky, but I think that it's going to be forgiving. Yeah, look at that. A little bit different, but you saw that I had that opportunity and I saw it and I took it. And I did not see that before because I was more worried about the idea of hiding my big, huge, giant fold in the middle of that section of my card that I accidentally did. So we put in, I added a thank you to the outside of the other one, and I used the other one already and put it here. So you should have 2 in your set, but I will have to go pull one out of my stock to put in this one. I couldn't believe that I didn't have a gold sticker thank you set. I have every other saying in the world, but somehow not that one. Okay, so now the last thing to do is take and put your little sections on with your foamies. I piqued Alice's interest. I just don't want to scare anybody, that's all. So when you get your card, just be aware that it might move. I don't know about you, but when I was a kid, I remember that there was, whenever we would go to somewhere that was kind of touristy or desert places, although we had them where we lived too in the Santa Cruz Mountains, they had these little envelopes, and the little envelope would have a rubber band that you wind around, and you had, I think it was a paper clip. I could be remembering wrong, but I think it was a paper clip. So when you went to go open up the envelope, it said rattlesnake eggs. And so you would go and you would give it to somebody and say, it's okay, they're just eggs. And you would go and you lift it and you'd open it. And when you went to go try and open it to look in, the little piece that was taunt in there with the paper clip on it would make the sound of a rattler. Oh, and it would go and yeah, I liked those a lot.
Like a little evil foot there inside there.
Oh, I do. I do. I love having things like that. I promise you guys it's not rattlesnake eggs. I my mom is here and can attest to the fact that I would try and bring lots of different things home and see if I could keep them. So there were snakes. I got bit by one that was this just lightly bit, not heavy. It didn't have any teeth. It didn't hurt anything, but he clamped down and I don't even think that he was usual to that area that we lived in. And I would go and try and catch one and bring it home. But this one was really cool because it was one that I'd never seen before out where we were. It was like this really bright green, like tree frog green snake. And he had orange on his belly right here. And I made sure that nose wasn't pointed, and if you got a round nose, then for the most part, unless it's a coral snake, and there's I think a bullnose rattlesnake that was a possibility, but I would always watch to make sure that I knew what was um what was an actual poisonous one in comparison. Salamanders, they came home with me. I tried to take them home with me, but mom would say, go put it back in the creek and you can go find it again later. Didn't want to keep any banana slugs. That was never a problem. But a lot of the reptiles or amphibians I would try and bring home. Mom just kept saying
Lizards.
no. I did. There were the blue fence lizards that I would catch, and they were really cool. And I would try ever so carefully to see if I could catch them without them releasing their tail, because I always felt like I was doing something stressful to them if they're dropping their tail. So I would be very, very careful. After the first time, I didn't know that they would do that. And so I would, I had one lose its tail and I felt really bad. So, okay, we've got the heads going on straight at the top. I'm not going to mirror this because I just have this little tiny section in here. So I'm not giving it its little tiny shift. And that's for good reason. And so I think we have this. I was going to save it for later though. We've got a little tiny tag that says birthday tweetings. I just feel like this is blank without its thank you, but if you can recognize that that's there. Where did you keep? Oh, Alice, my mom made me give them up all the time. Hi, Mary R. How are you? Yeah, my mom totally would make me put them home, except for one. And I caught him, and we were looking at property with some friends, and I caught him, and I am hoping that I'm remembering these stories correctly. So mom can always correct me if I don't remember right, because I found out that we weren't caught in a blizzard or really heavy snow. But to me, as a little kid, I thought that we got caught in the blizzard at Christmas time and Santa wouldn't be able to find us. So, you know how your stories are as a kid. You just have all those emotions and feelings to those that are connected with thought that may not be correct way of thinking. So anyways, there was only one that I was able to keep, and that I can remember. My parents were looking at some property in in the eastern portion of California state, middle, not Sacramento. I can't remember exactly where they were looking at, but we went to go looking at property with some friends, and I caught this lizard, and he was so cool. Good, Mary. I'm glad that your brother was able to be discharged, and you're going to be a very busy lady. You have 2 gentlemen to take care of and help. So I hope that it goes well. And I hope that you enjoy that visiting time, because that's got to be better than the drive to go see your brother and all the different things of traveling and the tiredness and all of that. So I'm glad that your brother will be able to be with you. Is it a long-term, Mary R? Is it a long-term stay or a short-term stay? And I'm so glad that he's well and that he came out of that accident. Yes, just remember to stop and come and visit us. Diane, you're absolutely right. Make sure that you take care of yourself. So that means you have to visit us on at least Thursdays and on the weekend. So then that way you have some time that we know you're enjoying on your own. Okay, I'm working on that third card as we're talking. I'm just taking the linen lilac color background. I gave Brittany a, hey, can you make the kit for me last Friday? And I said, you can choose whatever color you would like, because I already had mapped out what I was going to do, but I hadn't had a chance to put them all together. In fact, I was still putting them together on the drive, on the drive to drop them off on Friday. And so, and so with that, I was afraid that, we wouldn't get here in time. So I had sent Brittany the information ahead of time. So then that way we could go through and get them made so that we could get them out the door. We'll have 4 to 6 weeks to, sorry, I'm trying to read through a TV stand.
4 to 6 weeks to stay with me before he can return home.
Oh, good. Good. I'm glad to hear that he has that opportunity to be able to return home. That is so wonderful. Okay, guys, I'll finish my lizard story in just a second. Okay, so for this piece, we need the entire frame. And so make sure that you go very carefully around those edges. These bigger pieces are kind of like the other pieces where they're a little bit easier to release, I say, as I get stuck in being able to release this one. Okay, so you should have a frame that looks about like that. I just cut the edge off. And if you notice, one side has gold and one side doesn't. So in order to be able to salvage this frame as much as we can, I'm going to cut right above the gold here. So it's going to be blue here, no gold at the bottom, because it doesn't look right with the gold at the bottom. It just doesn't work right for me. Now, you may find that you like having that little piece at the bottom. If you do, you're more than welcome to keep it. It just will only go part way. So I'm going to take this one out so you can see what I mean. If you put this down at the very bottom, it will work, but we're cutting it off here. So that means around your edge, you won't have gold over here on this side, and you would have gold on this side if you chose not to cut it. And then you'd have these 2 gap lines. So you can do it that way and cut, and it will actually give you a little bit more space. So I'm going to go ahead and do it, and let's see if we find the same thing, if it works or it doesn't. I'm going to cut this side, however, off, because it won't look good with just the one side gold. And I can't add any onto the card. So let's take that gold piece off. And we are going to cut ever so closely, as close as we can. And in fact, I kept my top piece on that says that it's on the Perfect Day set of Deco Large. I kept that on so that I have something to really hold on to up here in the piece, because if I don't, let me see if I can bring this through so you guys can see. If I didn't have that, then I would it would be such a fine, delicate little cut because all I'd have left would be right here. And that would be so, so hard. I don't cut straight lines very well, so that's why I'm using it on the cutting board, but try and get it as close as you can to have the most blue as you can. And in fact, I usually will take a little bit of a run and see if I'm going to be past it or not here. Sorry guys, I'm trying to make sure that I show you at the same time. So I've cut this little tiny piece here so I know where the cut is started, and I believe that that should give me enough to be able to cut the gold out and leave me with enough blue. Yeah, see, I barely, don't know if you can see or not, it's awful close and it's awful thin. So there's just a little tiny bit, and I mean, I'm talking not even a 1/8 of an inch of blue on that edge, but I have no gold on my side there. Okay, so I'm going to cut the top off, and I'm going to be as generous with the top as possible because that's going to be important to what happens next. And on this piece that I cut right up here, this actually went down into the blue a little bit, the wording, so I had to take that and cut it off a little bit there at the top. So let me show you what I was talking about this gold line. Our card piece and our base is going to go in here just like this. And so I can leave that line in, but I don't have enough to keep this bottom piece going. So I'm going to go ahead and cut it off, and let's take a vote and see who likes it with and without the gold line. Because we have the space, so that's not going to be, I'm not even going to use that for this, just my scissors. Okay, so what do we think of with that gold piece? I'm actually just going to put it right here so that we can see what it looks like. I think it doesn't look too bad. In fact, you might even be able to glue on the gold piece up at the top and finish it off if you don't throw it away like I just did. That's what happens when I'm trying to be nice and neat. Okay. So because this is going to take a little bit of work on this, I'm going to have to set aside my story for just a little bit of time. Okay, so on here, my concern is with the acetate that we don't have enough to go all the way across, and that was totally my fault for saying a sheet. So we used a 1/2 sheet instead. So totally my fault. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how great these extra little bags are. And the reason why I want to use this is because of the fact that I want to keep this portion of my card from not catching the shaker pieces. So it's got to be smooth. And if I just had the card here, if I just had this sticking out like this, it's going to be more likely to catch on the edges of the card instead of laying flat. So I'm just going to go ahead and take my frame and I'm going to glue it on. So while my parents were looking at property, since this is a good time to say some more info, while my parents were looking at property, I was out trying to hunt down every living thing that existed on the property. And, or at least I thought I was doing a really good job of investigating. This was when I was young enough that we were still living in San Jose at the time. And I went and I caught this lizard, and he was really, really cool. He was tan. I don't remember his name. I think that I remember his name, but I'm not quite positive. And as a kid, you don't know certain things, but he had horns all over his head. So you can guess where that name goes. If I remember correctly, his name was Horny. I think, but I'm not positive. So anyways, kids mind. Kids mind, you don't think of those things. You don't know that those words exist for a meaning other than to mean that something is got horns. Anyways, so I caught him. He was really cool. I really liked him a lot. And I came to mom and dad and said, can I please take him home? Please, please, please. Now I'm allergic to pretty much everything. Everything. So we had a guinea pig and my parents had to not do that. So I think part of the reason why I wanted salamanders and lizards and snakes was because they were the only pets that I could have without getting sick. When I was younger, I learned how to manage it better as time wore on, and you kind of outgrow a little bit of those. I don't know if they're going to come back or not as I get older. My mom, we never knew she had allergies till one day she got in the snow in visiting me, and she started having an asthma attack because it was too cold. And that was the first time that we knew that she had allergies. Okay, so I've glued the frame on.
She didn't get allergies until she was pregnant with our second child.
Oh,
she never had an allergy when she
before.
Was younger. And then after
yeah,
she was allergic to trees and plants and
flowers. She's allergic to flowers.
Flowers, jute.
Christmas trees. Yeah. It's very interesting how your body works at times. I'm just cutting the acetate around the frame so that I have a nice seal. Of course, I'm taking my time because I don't want to accidentally cut that blue, because I have no ability to get some more of it if I accidentally cut it. Okay, now since I have a stronger surface, I figured that I would do this now instead of earlier. If you see, I've got a thinner line on one side than on the other. And so you just want to kind of even that out just a little bit. I didn't get too picky about it. I just thought that if I could just shave a little bit off, it won't look quite so uneven. So I brought this lizard home, and he had these dots because my mom said yes. And so he had these dots and little spots kind of all over him. Yes, I'm trying, but I'm so used to skipping around. This has been hard. Oh, I'm sorry. I don't don't want to know what his legal name was, Mom. I want to know what I named him. And I was getting to the endangered part of this whole story. So we got home and we lived quite a ways away from the property that we were at. And we went down to find out what he eats. And he eats mealworms, which were these little worms that came in sawdust in a jar, in a plastic container, technically, and you'd have to open it up and you'd have to feed him only a certain amount. So we went down to say, what do we feed him? And the pet store owner person that was working there said, oh yes, well, you're going to have to feed a mealworm, but you might want to take him back because he's on the endangered list. We didn't know. Totally, we learned our lesson and we never brought animals from one area to the other. It was before we kind of understood a lot of the endangered process back then. That definitely won't happen again. So now, the coolest part about this lizard is when he gets mad or when he gets really stressed out, he only did it once, and that's because one of our neighbor boys was not very nice to him, so he didn't get to touch him anymore. But the cool thing about this guy was, as part of his, if you're threatened by something, he would actually tip his head forward and he could shoot little droplets of blood out of it.
Oh.
Yeah. Oh, very interesting. And I don't remember the rest. So. I must have missed one of the questions in there. Yes, the acetate. I don't know exactly what Annette's question was, but we're using acetate and we're using different ways of doing things in order to get down to the piece where this is our shaker card. And like I said, this one will take the longest out of our group of things. So we're down to our last card, and I'm glad that you are doing okay, Annette, that you're feeling good enough to come and hang out with us today. Because if I recall right, you weren't feeling very well last Thursday either. It seemed like we had quite a few people that just kind of popped in and said, I can't stay for long. So because I don't have enough of this, I'm going to rework this, and it will be a really easy, simple thing to do. You're going to take your piece of bag that your items came in, and you're just going to cut yourself a section that's the size of the card. If you have extra acetate at home, I encourage you to go ahead and grab some of that. In mine, because I was working from home to make this, I don't have any clear acetate that doesn't have something pretty on it. So I don't have any for more industrial. I'm building a shaker card piece. I figure I can use the acetate for not only my cards, but I can use them for my pieces of shaker card, because they have flowers or they have gold scrolling or things on them. And in fact, I encourage you to take and put some of your extra corners where we have these. You can take and put in your corner pieces. You can get some of your dazzles or star forms or duty UU has them as well, where they've just got little pieces, and you can put gold foiling into each of these little areas or stickers. And I encourage you to do that because it turns out really pretty. Like I said, I didn't have any clear at home, so you can see on here, hopefully, you can see the little bits of gold framing, and it turns out so pretty on there. But it's only on the bottom and not on the top because it was the only piece that I had that I had the amount to be able to make it look like it was just clear acetate. So we're going to take and we're going to use our baggie here. All it takes is one layer. It doesn't take a ton, just the one layer. So I had this wonderful little lizard, and he was so great, and I got to keep him as my pet. Something that my mom told me would happen if I didn't take good care of him was that if I didn't feed him the right amount of mealworms, the mealworms would hatch and become little beetle-like reds, I think. See, these are the times where my mom can add some more to the story. I think they were like little reddish colored beetles. Anyways, sure enough, they came, and I didn't take good care of him. I mean, I did take good care of him, but I didn't take good care of making sure that he ate his food each evening or each morning. And so, I had a few beetles that were hanging out in my room. So bear with me, guys, because this is pretty clear because it's very, very thin. But here's the reason why we want to use it. If we, sorry guys. If we don't make that card smooth on the front, the picture, I should say, smooth on the front, then we've got a little bit of a problem because we won't be able to keep it smooth for the for the glitter not to catch on the tops or the bottoms. So we got to use this and grab either some acetate, or you can totally use your bag. It won't matter. It doesn't need to be thick. In fact, it can be quite thin. We'll want to make sure that you have to add a little bit more powder in this to begin with because you've got acetate or an acetate bag and acetate on the top. I put lots of powder in this thing, guys. I did a lot. It has worked itself enough times that I took and I shook my glitter a lot this way, face down, and I'd run it from the top. I'd run it from this way, and then I'd tip it this way, and I'd move it around, and then I'd shake it this way, and it cleans itself up quite nicely. You can't see the powder anymore, but but it's definitely in there. And even with the fact that we have it smooth on each side, it still likes to kind of catch in the corners a little bit. But I don't mind it because it gives my corners some really pretty spots. You can see all the little pink flowers. And it's a lot of fun. It really, really is. So,
say good night to Diane.
Good night, Diane. Good night to your kitty. Okay. This is my smaller one of the two. Okay, so first things first, we have to know where we're going to place this on our card. So I'm going to do it upside down for you guys, and I'm sorry. I usually try and flip it around, but right now I got to line it up just so. So you take your card and you move your frame to find out where you want it to be. Okay, so I've now kind of lined up just the frame with the acetate on it and the backstock card. And I can see here that it's a little bit narrower. So that means I want to just barely shift it that way. And other than that, it actually looks pretty good the first try around. So that's good. Hold your hand down because you do not want this bottom to move. And slide your frame out. And then you want to take a pencil and you just want to have a little spot right here, right here, right here, and right here. Then that way you know where, so here, 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 and here. That will help guide so that you put your picture back in the same spot after you tape it, because you're going to need to tape it. What time is it, Bryce?
We are at 5:42.
Since I'm doing the fussy part of this at the moment, what is coming up for the weekend? Was there a plan? I know that Debbie was going to work on her.
We're doing some Jamie Roger powders.
Jamie Roger powders. Okay, so I pulled them all out. Yes. Nope. Tuesday. I pulled all of the Jamie powders out that she had in her drawer along with the new powders. And from what I can tell, she said that she was going to make a mat so that you could see what all the different colors were. So there are tons of different colors for this powder. They've come out with more and more items. Okay, so I'm taking my pencil mark. I want to see it because then that means that I have it where I need it to be. I would love it if so. Theoretically, if you line up 2 of them, the rest should line up as well. Theoretically, that is. I love this craft style tape. If I haven't said that 5,000 times, I love it. I love it. I love it. Okay. So now I can just take away my little markings. And in fact, in reality, you probably won't ever see these. But I'll take out the lines anyways. Okay, so now we have our frame and it's got its acetate on. And then we're going to have our little bag. Okay. How do I want to do this so that you don't see the tape? Okay. Since we did not we intentionally were trying to keep the kit from going over on a price. Good night, Alice. Because we don't have any red sticky tape, we're trying to keep the cost way down, and I wanted to tell you this trick anyways, so it's a good trick to have. You can take your finger lift tape and take it and fold it in half like this.
You're folding the sticky parts
together. Yep, sticky parts together, and then just give it a nice little crease. When you open up your item, you open up your two little flaps again from your sticky tape. You will have tape that is just on the one side. It will peel right off that wax side. Just open that on up and you've got yourself some sticky tape without the red. So there's my trick. The reason why I want to put this on is because I want it to hold down the bag, and I'm wanting to try and hide the edge as much as possible. And since I know that the frame should hide this, I'm going to put my sticky tape right there, my finger lift tape that I've just made into sticky. Okay, and I'm going to do it again for the other side. Fold it in half so you've got a nice thin line of tape. And it's a pretty handy dandy little piece of, it's a handy dandy trick, I should say. So now I'm going to take that little thin piece of paper, or little thin piece of plastic sheeting that we have. Okay. Now we have it everywhere where it's going to touch smooth wise. And you can go through and trim this after the fact or before the fact, but I don't even see mine. Look at that. It just completely disappears, that little bag. You can kind of see a little bit of a reflection, but that's it. And if you're using acetate, I cut my acetate to the same size as when I did this one. It's the same size as the actual purple card. And you can see it here on the side. Maybe you can see it. So it just goes all the way to the edge. But with this thin little piece of plastic, it doesn't have to go all the way to the edge. Our goal is to just make sure that it's going to be smooth when we put our frame on. Just like that. Okay. Hey, I figure the more tricks, the better, right? Because I have to come up with something that's going to work, and I want it to work, so I have to come up with ways that will make it work. Okay, so we are down to the usual part of a shaker card. So we've taken a little bit more time just because this is all new. All right. So I made sure that Brittany knew I need the skinniest foam tape you can get me in a strip so that I can hide it. And you know, it's perfect. It really, I don't see it on the other card at all. It just seems to be able to do the trick. The one thing that I forgot to do when I was making the card was I forgot to put the powder against all the stickum on the tape. So we've talked about this before, not me necessarily, but Debbie says make sure that you take your tape, you take your embossing powder and you put it all the way along, because if you don't, your pieces are going to stick. And the other part is make sure that it is as close as it can be to each other so that these little guys won't escape. And these are small pieces of confetti, so you'll want to make sure that you absolutely get them as snug as they can be. Sorry, I had to pull up the green so that I can see exactly where we're going to be at here and get it shoved up all the way. And I don't know about you, but for me, the hardest part is making sure that one of my corners lays flat because I've put it so close together. And I found that if I measure it just a tiny bit up, I can usually slide my fingernail in and it will push down just where it's supposed to be. Okay. Nope, don't want to do that yet. Don't peel that off. Take all the time that you need, because hopefully you want to fold it off like I just did, because then I'm ruining the piece. Okay, and I'm just going to powder. And remember I said that I put in extra powder because I've got the two pieces, keeping that 2 pieces of plastic, lots of static. It will help keep that card being able to move that confetti continuously. Okay. Okay, so I'm peeling off all my pieces, and I don't know if it's because I'm silly or I just don't think of it in a different way, but this is how I make mine. And then I have to always pour the confetti right in here because I can never think of a different, I know that there's a different way to do it, but when I do these special types of frames, I haven't come up with a better way. So I'm just going to rub the powder lightly lightly, lightly over that piece of plastic. And I'm going to clear anything that's going to be where my stickum would end up. Because we want to make sure that that sticks. And you definitely got a good amount of confetti pieces of your blossoms because it's got a big space to cover. So you can choose to use all, you can choose to use as much as you think it warrants. I think that that would be a good amount right there.
Hi to Sharma.
Hi, Sharma. In the shop for a week. Oh, it's amazing what we need our computers for, huh? Everything. What did we do before that? Okay. Tapping off any of the excess powder so that it doesn't just fall in my space that I need it to be in. And it truly is just trying to get it lined up with the frame that's on the inside. Okay. Got my nice little packet. Okay, and it's going to take a lot of shaking in order to get that powder to work itself around. Don't be afraid. Move it, bang it, do whatever it takes to get all of that to become loose and shake both up and down. So you've got lots of space. So I'm doing that mainly off camera. So shake it this way, shake it this way. Be willing to just be a little crazy with it. Okay. Can't hurt it, can't harm it. And with a few more shakes, it will all settle down to the bottom. And then the next time around, you can shake it up a little bit more. That way it should hopefully be to the point where you don't see the powder as much anymore. And I think that I have a little gap where that powder accidentally seeped through when I flipped it over. No, seems nice and sealed. Okay. So from here, we're just going to take all the little goodies that are still left. Okay, so we have an extra house, guys. It was not there. It's on there somewhere on one of these cards, but we have an extra house. So I took the little bird with the coconut and the little bird inside the coconut, and I attached them in there. And then I went through, and anything that I wanted to put where something was sticking out, and keep in mind that idea of left to right and working with that. Excuse me. Let me repeat that again. Sorry. When you're looking at your card, you want to make sure that you're going to have pieces that will give you some evenness all the way around. So you're going to want something here, something down in here on the other side with these so that they look about right. This actually goes right by the little bird over here. But what I did was I took it and I put it over here in that nice little same curved space, and it works perfect. Okay, so those are our bottom ones. And then from there, I just took every other bird that I could find that I still had left. And when I was working on this, I'm going to be honest, I took off all the birds and I took off everything. And then I figured out what I was going to do first, second, and third. So remember I said that we should have some little birds left over. And we do, besides the ones that are on here. So I only have one chickadee. I don't want to go with a second layer of poof other than the little birds. So for me to put a poof on top of this one, it would just be too thick. So instead, we're going to go and try and give it. So I've got this little bird to go there. I've got this little bird to go right there. And I've got this little bird to go here. And then I know that in our group of the ones that I was looking at, I said, don't use the red-headed bird. He comes later. But now I don't see the red-headed bird. I probably lost him.
On this side,
I pushed this flower over here so that I wouldn't lose it. And of course I didn't do the other thing, so that would have been wise. I thought that I put him back where he belonged, but he could have fallen out. I am not sure now. Sorry, guys. I must have misplaced him in this process. So he's our little red guy that's right here on this portion of the house. See his little red nose and head. So you'll definitely want to have that little one around. In fact, I specifically mentioned, nope, we're not using that one right now. We're using it later. Earlier when we were doing the other card, when I first popped him out on accident, you'll want to make sure that you save all your little birdies, and then you can always go back through and put more birds in different places. So are there any questions that anyone has while I'm doing the fine details of putting all these little birdies on?
Good night to Mary Gasson.
Good night, Mary. This is where I grabbed one of the little foamies to put on his tail because he's got a really long tail. No questions. That's always good.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I can show you what's coming up for next Thursday. And Debbie, did you do the kitten one from the Springtime Wishes?
Kitten?
Yeah, the little curious kitten.
No.
Okay. So I'm going to give you guys a choice for not next Thursday, but the following Thursday. We're just going to make sure we do as many as we can so that we can have them ready to go. Because tax time is upon us. So I'm giving you guys a choice. I've got the little kitten from the Springtime Wishes. He's a little, he looks like a ragdoll kitten with the little gray stripes with white. And he's super cute. But I felt like we did a dog last time. And so from the Muddy Paws. So I thought, well, maybe we can do the kitten for those that are kitten lovers instead of dog lovers. I am a dog lover because I'm allergic to cats. One I have not outgrown. In order for us to have a cat, my husband agreed because he really likes kittens and kitties in general. And so one of the things that I told him was, sure, we'll have a cat so long as you are willing to change the sheets in the bed once a week and wash them. And you have to go through and vacuum all of the couches at least 2 times a week, and that you sweep or vacuum the floors every day, because it's the only way that I could stay well. And so he agreed to it. And so we've had kittens for a really long time until we moved here. And when we moved here, we found that we probably need a catio. So when you guys built the catio, my husband said, oh, does this mean that we can have cats again?
Oh dear.
So,
see what we started.
You did. You started it. Okay, and then I'm going to take this little piece that's left, and I'm just going to put him up in the little corner right here with a little bit, and I will have to find my little red bird because he really needs to be there. So I'm not going to be able to find him right now, but I'll take a look and see what we can do about getting him back on there. And at home, my floor is clean. Everything has been swept, but when I popped everything out, I lost this one on mine. So, you know, the least that I can do is lose some for the class time too.
That's right.
Okay. So there we are. That's our last card. And he's got all the great little foamies sitting on top of the acetate. So then that way it's giving it a dimension, like they're kind of sitting forward and in the very front. So it is springtime, my friends. I heard the birds calling to each other yesterday, and they literally were playing Marco Polo. There were 2 birds had the exact same call, and one was really close and one was further away, and they just kept doing it until they found each other, and away they went, and I didn't hear again from them. But it's super, super sweet. It's a lot of fun to do. I really think that this is a great Mother's Day card. Kitty, please. Kitty. Okay, but my kitties are my heart. Okay, I love both too. That's why I did dogs last time around. So I think we'll go ahead and we'll do the springtime wishes kitty for next week. I hear that, and not next week, sorry, in 2 weeks. I already have next week. So this is my Mother's Day card, in my opinion. And I know that we're thinking early, but listen, I am always behind. So if I can get ahead sometimes, it's the best thing. So I have these for Father's Day for next Thursday. This is from our Perfect Day our perfect day Deco Large that we have for this spring. And these are this is a harbor, British town. It seems like, and my mom says, no, it's not quite the same. But it seems like to me that the living in Cornwall area in England, it feels like the same gateway and stonework and things that fencing and some of the buildings that they had in Bude, Cornwall. The town that my folks lived in was in Stratton, and they were mainly, a lot of them look like this one with big dark wood around the windows and I'm not giving you that card. You get a different card, Mom. And I see that you're going to go fix my dad some dinner. So have a great rest of your night. But aren't these fun? And they're so pretty. And I was able to get 4 cards out of a Deco Large set, which is really, especially with as big as these boats were. I was amazed that I was able to get 4 of them out of here. But here is the last one. And we made a little tiny peephole shaker for the middle. So these are set for next Thursday. And then for Saturday, you guys are going to be working on some Jamie powders, so that'll be great. And have lots of fun. And I will see you guys next Thursday. And I hope you guys have a great rest of the week. Unless there's any questions, I think that we had thrown the idea of class questions earlier. So I think that we're good. So we will see you next Thursday. And I hope you have a great rest of your evening.